Hi and welcome to the Roadmap to Miracles. In this short masterclass, I'll guide you through 7 powerful steps to awaken your miracle frequency and reconnect you with your true self. So if you're ready to create a more aligned, conscious and miraculous life, let's begin.
Hi, and welcome to the Roadmap to Miracles. In this short masterclass, I'll guide you through 7 powerful steps to awaken your miracle frequency and reconnect you with your true self. So if you're ready to create a more aligned, conscious, and miraculous life, let's begin. So firstly, let's get clear. What do we mean by miraculous life? Well, what I mean when I use this term is a life where dreams come true and you're experiencing a lot more synchronicity. Your life is progressing in leaps and bounds. You feel like you've turned your energy around, or your luck has changed. You have lots of successful outcomes, and things are now working for you when they were previously stuck or not working for you before. And it generally means more opportunities, more chance happenings, more peace, balance, love and abundance. So the objective of this masterclass today is to help you understand and integrate the 7 key concepts taken from the Book of Tarp, which are: number 1, understanding your energy; number 2, imagination is key; number 3, living in loving action; number 4, lessening the differences; number 5, discovering your true self; number 6, channeling divine energy; and lastly, number 7, managing your divine energy. Now, to materialize this miraculous life, the result should be that you become more aware that you are channeling this divine energy, and you are aware of how to manage it, how to understand it better, and how to understand better who you are and how to interpret the way it speaks to you. Its language. The language that this energy uses so you can live more embodied and more confident and more sovereign in your day-to-day life. And I add to that, if we could all embody these things, these 7 key concepts, we would live in a beautiful world. A world where we usher in a metamorphosis of enlightened consciousness that brings us to an era of heightened connectivity, peace and abundance and contact, better connection with our fellow human beings, and connection with our wider galactic community. The Book of Tarp begins with a little quote which says, "She Gale knows and you know, at your deepest core of being, what is there, what it is we describe, and the nature of all that is for you, have it folded within you, holographically. You are within it, and the whole is within you." So let us begin and move to the first step on the roadmap. Key 1. Understanding your energy. And now, I realize that in this step, we are about to go over some foundational things. A lot of the things you may have heard of before. This key concept is somewhat foundational, so you may have heard the terms the law of attraction and heard of books such as Think and Grow Rich or The Secret. Yes, this thinking has been around for a while, and the concept of understanding your energy has been around for a while, but it remains the golden foundation on which to keep the other 6 concepts of the roadmap in mind. It's easy to forget that in our daily lives, when we see all this solid stuff around us, that we are vibration and that we're made of energy. According to Tarp, until we really accept and acknowledge this and embed this understanding directly and practically into our lives, we will not be able to master our energy and therefore our life. If we could do this, truly master our energy, we would be able to master our emotions and our relationships. We would also be able to master those things that don't come easy to us currently. For some of us, this may be our health, for others their finances, and so on. However, mastering our energy also means creating opportunity, synchronicity, inspiration. It also means creating peace for ourselves. The idea of understanding your energy, that you and everything in creation is energy vibrating at a particular frequency is fundamental in the Book of Tarp, regarded as so essential that the first 5 chapters in the book are about this: energy, resonance, transmission. Therefore, this perspective is concentrated into key 1. Firstly, let's talk about the vibrational atmosphere. Tarp talk about our world as a magnificent creation of vibrations, with each entity, each thought, and each emotion emitting its unique frequency. This vibrational tapestry is not just a background noise in our lives, it is the very fabric of our existence. Tarp's teachings gently usher us back to this realm of vibrations, encouraging us to orient our lives by sensitizing to them, and they weigh things, phenomena, places, people, and so on feel, so that ultimately we can gain mastery over our choices, and based on how they feel, by living and feeling through what we experience, and by not putting all emphasis on what we read from our senses alone, but really focusing on the way things feel. For example, places, people, events, things. Not looking at what things seem like by reading from our senses, but just gauging the inner sense of how the vibration feels. For this to be acknowledged, Tarp speak about the perfect marriage. By this they refer to the integration of the physical and the non-physical parts of ourselves, the experience that we have that is physical, material, and the experience that is ethereal, energetic, and non-physical. We often view our existence purely as physical beings navigating a world of tangible experiences. Yet, and you may have heard this before, Tarp invite us to consider the more expansive view of ourselves as beings who are both physical and non-physical, as entities whose true essence transcends the confines of our bodily existence. They talk about the barometer, our internal barometer that measures feeling. That indicates the vibrational frequency of something, anything, that we come across in our life. With this barometer, and the measure it gives you in the form of feelings, you are gently guided to merge these 2 realms of the physical and non-physical. And this encourages you to feel a wholesome existence that reads and embraces the physical side of you and the spiritual side of you. These teachings of Tarp don't ask you to renounce your physical world, but they ask you to infuse it with the richness of your non-physical essence. It's about finding balance, feeling fully alive and living a life that is grounded and transcendent, tangible and ethereal. Next, we move on to the idea of feelings as a bridge. Feelings are not just emotional responses, but powerful bridges connecting the physical and non-physical realms. They are the language through which our higher self communicates to our physical self. The physical self with its ego mind and the feelings are something that are there to guide us towards our higher purpose. Each emotion, whether joy or sorrow, peace or turmoil, carries with it a vibrational message, and they are clues to understanding our deeper selves. Non-physical emotions are the counterpart to our response to our physical experience. Tarps speak of these vibration indicators or feelings to interpret its nuances and to use it as a compass to guide you through life's journey. The aim is not to control or suppress the emotions, but to understand their origin, their purpose, and their message. And in this sense, vibrations through emotions are the most important language to understand because it is the language of the whole body. Vibration through emotion or feeling is a multidimensional language, and what mayn't be understood by the ego mind can be felt, experienced, and understood by the body. So what your mind may not understand, the whole version of you, or the holistic whole body of you can understand. The non-physical part of you is multidimensional and is speaking to you all the time via your feelings and emotions and your inspirations. Tarp refers to this as experiential understanding. It's not just an intellectual concept, but something to be experienced and embodied. Next, what they speak about in these beginning chapters is the idea of pervasive energy. Again, you may have come into contact with this idea before. The pervasive energy that they talk about is love. Love is seen as the energy that underpins all of existence and is involved in a continuous dance of resonance and is the foundation for understanding God. Knowing the journey and the evolution of love provides a foundation for understanding oneself and life in terms of vibration. And they speak about if you could learn to navigate your life without your physical senses serving you. For example, if you couldn't see or hear, then vibration and energy would be the senses you would use to navigate the world. Vibration and energy would speak to you via feelings, emotions, and inspirations. And they talk about vibration being something which is an indicator and reminder of the non-physical realm and the non-physical I am self. Then they talk about vibration-oriented living. This is a concept or a way of phrasing that you may not have heard before. Vibration-oriented living, which means prioritizing the feelings of vibration and energy and allowing them to guide your life. Finding balance between your non-physical and physical experience is also important. Achieving a balance that allows an interaction of the two realms of your experience is beneficial for you as it allows the fusion of divine energy to flow into you and be guiding to your physical world experience. Your ego self, the small self, accompanies your physical body. One cannot live without the other, yet you have the larger non-physical self part of you. You could call this the I am self, or you might want to call it the higher self. The book speaks about using your physical senses while prioritizing internal vibrations, then using physical abilities to act upon your physical world. However, your actions should be guided by your feelings. It is important to always choose the things that feel the highest or most pleasant to you. In this way, you have the freedom and the ability to choose your life experiences. By listening and perceiving well to this inner guidance and acting accordingly, you can master your life, always making good choices that feel best for you. To reiterate, letting the vibration of feelings inform your choice of experiences means becoming primarily vibration-oriented in your life. Literally, led by your vibrational guidance system. This is your system of communication, your higher self speaking to your physical ego self. And therefore, you have a conscious choice for conscious embodiment. And this is a way, it's an art in fact, to live in this way. Choosing what to feel and following the good feeling of an idea. By being and doing according to good feeling, and noticing how it feels to be in a certain place or with a certain decision. Understanding this process and connecting to and living by that. This is key 1, covering the basic foundational concepts. Let us move on to the next key in the roadmap to miracles. And the second key concept, imagination, is key. So imagination is crucial for visualizing and navigating the non-physical realm. The non-physical realm, which is beyond the physical world's limitations. This is about allowing the imagination to give access to dimensions of consciousness and energy that are not bound by space or time or physicality. So therefore, imagination can be seen as a form of channeling. They say it is not about making things up. Rather, it is a form of drawing experiences into your life that are corresponding to your resonating frequency. Imagination allows perception of realities that go beyond your physical senses. Imagination can tune into different levels of perception and reality. And imagination enables a form of intuitive perception that senses and explores the physical realm. They say imagination acts as a bridge, connecting wider consciousness or non-physical experiences to you. This happens through your mind and into your physical world. It operates under the principles of frequency, attraction, and resonance, honoring the vibratory stream of information and energy which is flowing. The things that you are channeling into your mind through imagination generally match the vibratory output emanating from you, the individual. Continuing with the concept that imagination is key, how do we embrace and use imagination in our daily lives? Non-physical experiences can take various forms in the imagination. Some of these experiences may be difficult to articulate, but can be felt and understood through alignment with the self. They say imagination assists in processing and integrating experiences in a comprehensible way for physical beings. There is lots of skepticism and doubt regarding imaginative experiences. However, a good imagination is beneficial overall and is easy to embrace. By paying attention to your imagination, you can develop confidence and faith in this communication over time. It is a stream of divine energy coming into your life that can guide you towards broader consciousness and growth. So being able to embrace what comes to you via your imagination, actually implementing what comes through your imagination and actioning what comes to you will give you confidence over time, because you'll be able to see the link between your growth in your physical world and your purposeful, deliberate intent on harnessing it. So it would be beneficial for you to acknowledge imaginative experiences as guideposts towards enlightenment, understanding, and integration. Imagination might present recognizable aspects when establishing contact with another being or consciousness, thereby assisting in processing your experience in a way you can understand. What is meant by this is sometimes when you are channeling wider consciousness, your mind and your ego mind, your working mind, work very hard to process information that is coming in from a wider level, but it is also filtering some things out. And your imagination is the vehicle that allows certain phenomena through, and it filters it through by presenting things to you in ways that you can relate to. So there might be experiences or guides or lucky numbers or synchronous happenings that feel or seem relatable and understandable for you. Bite-sized pieces of information, symbols, numbers, expressions, recognizable aspects. These can come to you via imagination. They come in this way so that you can recognize them. However, they often contain encoded, more complex or higher expressed information than your mind may be able to process, if that makes sense. All experiences, even those that are new or fearful, are part of the grand tapestry of creation, and all experiences that can come via imagination are there to encourage analysis, questioning, integration, and growth. They say imagination enables intuitive knowing, bridging the gap between physical and non-physical realms, bridging the gaps between knowing parts of oneself. So we were talking about the two parts of the self earlier, and it allows you to create a bridge between knowing the physical and the non-physical parts of who you are, and of course the different parts of who you are during your normal waking day, such as your subconscious mind. Imagination is a guide towards greater connectivity, relativity, creativity, and contentment, and it can fuel passion and motivation and fuel your ambition on your life path. So trusting the process of imagination allows envisioning realities and possibilities beyond your current circumstances. Imagination is useful, integral, and divine. Imagination can bring all possibilities into physical life and give you profound insights into the expansive, infinite world of the non-physical. In fact, it's pivotal for your successful life of miracles. Now, we move on to key 3, living in loving action. Loving action is an interesting term that is spoken about, but it's covered quite extensively in the Book of Tarp, and there the concept of love, as you will read, is much more than an emotion. It is the energy that underpins all existence, the force that binds all of creation, and the rhythm that animates this whole dance of life. Tarp invites us to view life, to view love, as the very fabric of the universe, and its very dance of resonance and attraction, this continual cycle of attraction, the coming together, the union, and the moving apart to experience separation is the whole direction for love, and it's all about the momentum of love. It makes us yearn for togetherness and union. It is the idea of knowing love, because we're seeking to find the union which is God. So in these teachings, love is not just a destination to be reached, but a journey to be experienced. It's about finding love in the mundane, in the normal, everyday stuff, about seeing the divine in the ordinary, and about recognizing that every moment, every interaction is an opportunity to experience and express this universal love. And here is a quote from the book. Love is the expression, the project, and the identity of God. Therefore, all of creation, even the dark, the endings, the suffering, have love at the heart of it. The dark, the endings, and the suffering are all born out of love. So, in summary, love and the action of love explores the concept of love, being a fundamental principle of all of existence and being a divine vehicle of energy. Loving intention should be connected not only to people, but also to the natural world, including plants, animals, and elements. Loving action should be established in a way where you are channeling. Loving action, reinforcing a feedback loop of love and understanding, and of being a holographic human. So what they mean by this is the love that you put out there in the world to all beings and to all things is actually a mirrored action, an action that will be reflected back and reflects the love held for yourself. So loving action also incorporates things like intention, thought, and emotional response. And every bit of energetic loving action that you put out there is actually love back to you. Because it's about understanding that we're all one and same, and we're all from the same source. Therefore, the care and respect and compassion extended to others is all mirrored back, affirming your inherent worth and your divine nature. Every act of kindness, regardless of the size or visible impact, contributes to the collective vibrational frequency of the planet. The intention and vibration behind actions are more significant than immediate observable results. For example, silently wishing well or sending positive thoughts to someone can be an act of loving action, sending vibrations that impact others in unseen ways. So they talk about engaging in loving action raises vibrational frequency. Connecting more closely with all that you are and focusing on love in all actions can transform your life and impact the people around you, even without witnessing the immediate fruits of your kindness. So it really emphasizes performing all actions rooted in loving action. And this is the quickest way to feel in alignment with yourself, your higher self, and with the energy of all that is the God energy. Moving on to key concept 4 on the roadmap. Lessening the Differences. This is a crucial concept in the Book of Tarp. They say that differences can be perceived as creating separation or recognized as varied manifestations of the same divine essence. To elaborate, this concept refers to lessening the differences in what you see in your world, in everything that you see around you. And they say there are 2 ways to perceive differences. The first way is to see differences as separate. The second way is to see the same shared essence. Tat is in all things. Differences, they say, are necessary for survival and for navigating your physical world. But recognizing the unity amidst differences enhances connection to all of the facets of life. And they say that all beings are divine consciousness, experiencing itself from varied perspectives. This means one can understand God to be experiencing itself from a multitude of infinite different viewpoints and fractal streams of energy. Holding deep-seated beliefs is something that we all do. We all hold beliefs in our subconscious mind. but holding the deep-seated beliefs about differences are often absorbed from our environment and impact the way that we live and the way that we see the world. They influence our perceptions and our interactions, and transforming these deep-seated beliefs requires deep introspection and a conscious effort to uncover and understand them. But Tarp say this is an essential process so that you can lessen the differences externally of what you see in life. For example, some normal everyday deep-seated beliefs that we have include things such as a fear of snakes. And how do you overcome this? It involves recognizing first of all that you have a divine shared essence with the snake, and that it is representing shared energy or God face. You are in essence the same. You could say it is a face of God looking at you. Or you could say it is in your environment, and therefore your experience as an agent or guidepost for your growth. Reducing perceived differences in your world might be a bit of a journey for you, but a rewarding journey. For overcoming the sense of separation or fear arising from perceived differences will enhance the quality of your life in this physical world. It would also bring a greater sense of connection and oneness to the I Am Self and all that is. Reducing perceived differences among people in your life, for example, can help prepare you for connection with other non-human beings, including animals, extraterrestrials, and angelic beings. By being vibration-oriented and channeling loving action, you are transmitting good intentions. So if you keep these things in mind, to be vibration-oriented and to channel love, it will help you. So learning to minimize in your life the differences you see in your outer world and around you every day is going to improve your life. For the more that you recognize that all of us are the same energy no matter what you see, they're just embodied differences. Race, sex, religion, belief, species. The more you realize you're all fractals of the same source, and the less resistance you will have to channeling a miraculous life. So in this light, it is worthwhile to take some time to have a look at the things that you feel you perceive separation, fear, or dislike for in your life. The things that you have deep-seated beliefs about. Because overcoming these will bring happiness. Overcoming this will enhance your feeling of divine connection, and will enhance your likelihood of connecting with higher frequency beings if you're one of these people that does want to channel or connect with light beings, and it will also help you embrace compassion and oneness amidst all the differences that we have going on amongst us today in the visual physical world. Tarp would like to remind you that there is complete union among all manifestations of divine source energy. Higher connection and oneness. Well, I think this is pretty clear. Lessening the differences in what you see allows for acceptance, love, and compassion. It allows for greater understanding and identification and union with other forms of consciousness. And the more you see the sameness with other forms of consciousness, the more communication you have, which means the more channeling of divine energy you do into your physical life, which means the more miracles you will see. Okay, moving on to key number 5 on the roadmap for miracles, discovering your true self. Now this is where it can get a little bit dense, and I've tried to do my best to sum these up as succinctly as possible, but there is quite a lot here, and see if you can stay on board and take some notes. Okay? Who are you? Who you are. They say the human concept of self is formed from labels, preferences, values, behaviors, and beliefs. We've just discussed the beliefs, and the self is perceived generally, a human self or you yourself. You perceive you generally through your body, mind complex, and your ego, including your physical appearance and your personality, your name, and some personal facts. Beyond the physical, though, is an infinite loving I am self that pre and post exists, your current physical form. So the non-physical part of you, the higher self that you know of, is here before and after your temporary current physical body. So that non-physical self is able to observe your thinking, your moods, your various states of consciousness like sleep, dream, wake, subconsciousness, etc. And they talk about who you are with your ego. They call this a temporary program, along with your body, and it is influenced by experiences, values, belief systems, again, habits and memories. And these memories, they can be individual memories from your life or from previous life. And they can be collected memories, memories from your ancestors, things that they have learned. For example, not to walk into fire and just throw yourself off of a cliff. There are certain, I gave you crude examples there, but there are certain things that you're carrying down collectively as well. So continuing on with who are you? You have the smaller ego self, the two perspectives of the self. You have the smaller ego self, and they call this a projection energy into the physical plane. With the larger I am self, being infinite and multidimensional, able to see the whole of you and communicate and receive information on a larger level than the smaller self. There are two perspectives of self, the smaller ego self and the higher, larger I am self. The smaller ego self is the projection of energy into the physical plane, with the larger I am self being infinite and multidimensional, able to see the whole of you and communicate and receive information on a larger level than the smaller self. Your higher self embodies a unique energy frequency different from any other incarnated person that you come across in your life. It's its own unique signature frequency, but that it originates from one source, the original universal source or God. And all energy forms and consciousness exist simultaneously and are holographic, containing the entirety of divine source energy. So what they mean by that is that within the non-physical stream of energy that is you, your higher self, there is the information of everything that exists everywhere and in all time. Because we are holographic, even though our ego minds may not realize it, we are holographic and we contain all of the information within us. And all is within the all in every single fragmented stream of consciousness that is split off from the one source, all that is, or God. And then they make the point, all manifestations and all experiences only occur in one place now. There is no past, there is no future. There is but one of consciousness which is now. But your physical perception in your ego mind perceives your life linearly. So you perceive things happening in a sequence. Moving on. This is where it gets a little bit dense. Let's talk about the architecture of self. This is quite a long chapter in the book, but I've tried to break it up. So pictorially, so you can understand this. So the higher self is something that is the non-physical counterpart to your ego small self. And this higher self has issued forwards a directive to experience physical embodiment, which is you now you, your name, who you are sitting here watching this masterclass, is the physical embodiment, which is the answer to a desire that the higher self has to experience specific experiences and lessons during its time in physical form. So if you look at the image here of the higher self is actually the man walking the physical form, actually the shadow reflected on the floor, because the shadow is a temporary projection cast into physical form from the truer projection, which is the higher self, if that makes sense. However, the higher self and you and the physical counterpart, the ego self, you may have heard that you have an oversoul. Well, this is referred to in the Book of Tarp as a group self. And the group self is beyond individual streams or fractals of energy. It desires to experience broader themes and is organized from a broader consciousness of all that is. Now, the group self is like multiple experiences or lifetimes experience simultaneously. So multiple perspectives, synergistically and simultaneously. And what it does is it's like an experience hoover. It is having multiple experiences continuously and infinitely to understand and learn in a broader theme. But what it's doing is expanding its consciousness and its depth of experience. And each perspective within the group self brings a unique viewpoint, creating multidimensional understanding of existence. So you, we, us. We're amalgamations of spiritual, mental, and physical aspects. Connectivity, perception, inspiration, and creativity may increase with awareness of who you are, such as you are physical being with a higher self, and you belong to a group self, and this can help you actualize your divine potential in day-to-day life. Just keeping this in mind, that there are bigger understandings of who you really are. Now you may be able to see when you go over and look at the master group. The master group, one of the little orbs of light, if you look very carefully, is the image of a group self. So the master group is in fact a cluster of group selves. And each group self is a multitude of experiences in life form happening simultaneously. So beyond the group self is an even greater consciousness, which you can visualize as clusters of group self wanting to have big themes of experience. Beyond that, you can call this like meta-level experience. It's like a creative essence issuing forth impulses or causal frequencies to experience certain themes or in certain dimensions of consciousness. And beyond that, you have something called the original impulse, as described in the Book of Tarp. Now, in actual reality, there are many levels between these four groups that I've put on the slide here. But this is quite a crude way of putting it down, just to show you just pictorially a way of kind of trying to understand in a kind of concept level about who you really are, when we say you are holographic and you have everything within you. For the original impulse is basically God, encompassing multifaceted realms of form and different perspectives of God with impulses, directives, and causal frequencies. And it's issuing forward themes and master groups. And within the master groups, you have more specified directives. Simultaneous lifetimes and incarnations, with multiple fractals of energy coming forward down into individual higher selves, projecting into physical form. But within each physical form, you have the whole and the divine. I am energy present in every single individual fractal of energy. And the more you can embody this awareness, the more you can tap into the fullness and the wholeness of who you are. Information that brings you to a joyful and miraculous life. Now, just to portray this in a different way, I just wanted to add a slide here. If you look over to the left, you have a list. You, your higher self, the group self, the master group, the original impulse and source, God. So most of people look at God, or the source of all that, is as something being external to them, something outside of their body, and something far away. And there's you, a little dash, a little person there within a group, seeing as all of that being outside of yourself. But then, if you glance over to the middle diagram, what you are in fact is nested layers. So while people think that all this is far away from them and outside of themselves, they're not realizing that they exist within the whole. However, with the way that you are incarnated with an ego mind, a small self can only perceive and relate to the physical world, which it is. It can feel the energy of the greater. But using the 5 physical senses, you can get lost and you can feel separated, and you can think that you're not to do or related at all to all of the other bigger concepts of self and energy. But in fact, you are within the whole. And as the beginning words of the Book of Tarp say, the whole is within you. It's just that these things are slightly kept hidden or out of your perception lines. If you see or the veils are down, you often hear the word about the veils. You're unable to see this unless you can think beyond the 5 senses and align and infuse the two aspects of the self, the higher self, with the non-physical small ego self. Because when you're able to do that and incorporate it more and more in your daily life, the more you are able to draw in and channel broader information and broader energy from wider and wider consciousness, which is all God consciousness essentially. Now, the illustration on the right-hand side I just wanted to show you is basically the middle image nested layers in another kind of pictorial form, just to help with understanding the concept, because a lot of people are talking about sacred geometry and the Platonic solids. Now, this is a form of nested Platonic solids, and if you put them all inside one another, they equate to something like this. And this is showing you how all things are actually embedded in the whole. And the pictures below, I added these last minute, but this is a fractal geometry picture, and it's one of those that if you were to zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in again infinitely, you would find the same shapes occurring again and again and again. So in a sense, you might be one of these tiny little nodes you can see on the slide now, just on the outside of one of those little flowers on the left, and each little group of dots is a group self. And each little cluster that looks like a flower is a master group, and so on and so forth. But you zoom out and you realize that there are just infinite master groups and infinite impulses, all held within the space of God. So let's give you a metaphor here of self. And the picture doesn't perfectly illustrate the metaphor in the book. I tried to get something up on AI, but it doesn't really do the job perfectly. But it will help. So here is a metaphor the way Tarp have described this in the book of How to Understand Yourself as God Being into Self. They say, Divine One, we would like to use the metaphor of your sun. Imagine God as the space that holds the sun. The space represents the source of all energy, consciousness, and light. It is the oneness and origin that makes everything else possible. Now imagine God's energy, the original impulse, as the sun itself. This is the primal energy and instinct to experience itself in motion. It is the divine emanator of love and light and consciousness. It is also the original active power and energy. The energy is undefined and unstructured, but resonating from the sun's core that sets everything into motion. Then we ask you to consider the enormous solar flares of the sun that burst forward with initiatives of direction and energy. They are powerful organizers, just like the master groups, directing the energy and helping to shape how it is used. With this aspect of the solar flares, like the master groups, there is more defined focus directed into particular realms. Now consider the group self as springing from the master group. This is akin to focused beams of sun energy that come from the solar flares. These beams are smaller and more focused than the larger solar flares and have a specific direction and purpose, concentrating the sun's energy in particular locations and levels of manifestation. Then consider the higher self springing from the group self. The individual rays created from the strong beams of the sun represent the higher selves focused into progression from the group self. Imagine these rays as the individualized singular rays of sunlight reaching Earth. They are individual expressions of the sun's energy, each unique yet non-physical, just as you are individual streams of higher self. This is how the energy that is God manifests into you. This is the I am of who you are, the divine God energy shining as you and through you. Lastly, consider the individualized separated ray of the sun cast into the physical realm. It interacts with its physical environment, and it appears as a shadow. It is made from contrast. It is now in the physical realm, yet it depends on its physical and non-physical parts to be recognized as it is. This is you, the human being, made from the stream of light and consciousness that is your higher self fused with the physical realm. Like the spots on Earth, where the sunlight touches, where the rays create warmth and light, and where life can flourish because of the sun's energy, this is you able to thrive and interact, creating an experience that is entirely unique to you. Well, that's the end of the step. understanding who you are, and I'm sure you can appreciate that was quite a lot of information. But moving on to the second to last step, there are 7 steps on this roadmap for miracles. But now you can probably see that if you can accept and become more aware of the idea of who you are, being the nested layers of God into self, the more you are able to incorporate this knowledge, along with the other steps in this roadmap, into your day-to-day life. And this is why they say at the beginning, this is an experiential journey, something that will work on you over time. So step 6 is channeling divine energy. The journey of life is about the everyday discovery and implementation of the divine quest to experience love in its most fundamental form. They say for a life of miracles. According to the Book of Tarp, we are encouraged to begin to see ourselves not as isolated individuals, but as vital parts of a grand interconnected whole. A highway of divine energy that flows through us, connecting us to every living being, to the earth, to the stars, and beyond. Therefore, a world of possibilities, a world where each individual recognizes their inherent capacity to channel wisdom, creativity, and love. It's a vision, if you can understand, that we're all channeling divine energy. Of a society where everyone acknowledges their innate sovereignty and freedom, leading to a more peaceful, abundant, and flowing world. Imagine a world where creativity is not just a pursuit, but a revered and essential aspect of our existence. A world where every person is valued as an equal yet distinct divine being. So channeling here refers to funneling non-physical energy into physical expressions, actions, and manifestations in your daily life. Every action, every thought, every emotion is a manifestation of channeling non-physical energy. And they say that humans in this very light, in this very nature, are natural conduits of consciousness. That's what we are. We are powerful transducers channeling the divine. I am energy into the physical world, into our physical lives. And this life force that we channel is integral to everybody and connects us all. However they talk about our human psyche, our mind being like a mosaic, compartmentalized and providing different states of being. The ego provides us with a sense of individuality, which does serve us on a certain level and functionality, but it also offers us a limited perspective of who we really are and of broader consciousness. So it is good for helping us function in our day-to-day world, but it does filter experiences and perceptions that the whole of us, our body beyond our ego mind, that the whole body, for example, does not filter. So our body can perceive on a larger level than the ego mind can. Because the ego, it tends to perceive itself as separate from the rest of existence, wanting to take a protective role. And it can obscure, it can suppress, it can invalidate any trans-dimensional phenomena that comes in, and it can suppress our awareness sometimes towards our intrinsic unity to each other and all that is. It tends to put things as into me versus other and safe and unsafe. But it's, obviously it's learned to do that for survival reasons. But what we need to do to overcome this and begin to integrate ourselves more and more is understand the good stuff it brings to us and keep in mind that it's filtering out and learn to integrate all experiences that come to us on a holistic level, which is bringing to light fears and deep-seated beliefs that we have, and lessening the differences around us that we see. They talk about, with channeling, divine energy, that the quality of your thoughts and actions and words contribute to the consciousness that is channeled into your world, so you can alter your thought patterns and your behaviors in order to change the frequency of what you bring into the world. Great for creating things and producing things. And if you want to make contact with higher dimensional beings, or light beings, or with your guides, you know that you should be thinking on higher frequency, vibratory planes, And the next slide, how do you integrate this knowledge about channeling divine energy into your life? Well, they say, remember, being vibration-oriented involves consciously aiming for the highest accessible frequencies that you can get chosen. Frequency impacts interactions within the world and the energy exchange. So if you can try and live your life going for the nicest feeling, things, thoughts, actions, words and behaviors, it does actually impact your interactions and relationships with the world around you. And then it impacts also the exchange of energy you get back from those people, from those relationships, from those things. And they say the energy you channel into your life not only affects you, but it affects the whole world. And they talk about extending love again. Loving action and kindness is channeling the divine aspect actively into your life. And it is able, therefore, to transcend the confines and the limits of the ego in doing so. They say that your channeling ability is limitless because consciousness sees no bounds and it is infinite and abundant. And it's a boundless resource that can be tapped into. All that awaits is for you to lessen the differences around you so you feel more integrated, less compartmentalized, and able to integrate the two aspects of yourself into your physical world and your life. The direction of channeled energy, vibrations and resonances impacts what is brought into physical existence. So you can actually direct and intend what you channel. Including healing and creativity, you can set intention for what you wish to bring into the world or wish to bring through you. So of course this can result in various creations and expressions which are individual to you because you have a unique source energy. Transducing this divine energy into your physical world in a unique way to you. And anything from inventions to healing to the arts, it's all about energy exchange and bringing in and funneling down broader divine consciousness into your physical world. And they remind you again, the emphasis is on imagination being a crucial bridge between the I am and the source of everything that is into the physical world. And then I just want to make another point that you can in fact channel healing for yourself and for others. And of course this is done, but just want you to understand that this is channeling. It's not necessarily in the way of someone just channeling an ET or being a medium. It's bringing energy into the physical world. They do make the point, however, it is important to understand that you're balancing in this physical world the idea of duality. What they mean by this is the dual modality of existence that you have the left and right sides of the brain. And it's about learning to balance and live experientially using both sides of the brain. They talk about the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. They also talk about making a balance between the ego self, the small self, and the I am non-physical or higher self. Hence the scales. They're depicted. The mind guides through intuition. And you can bring this into your body. It can manifest as feelings, gut feelings can come in your dreams, or just, what you call hunches. But a lot of us tend to live with a left brain approach with a life of egocentric actions, just thinking it's just about you, even if you don't feel you're selfish. It's just very easy to forget that we're all one. We all have a unitive awareness. We all belong. We're all one and the same. And one cannot live a happy and successful life without the awareness of the all, or by pinching themselves or cutting themselves off from the non-physical flow of energy, or the acknowledgement of the I am self, or by just living a left brain, analytical, egocentric approach to your physical life. And the modern world often leans towards that left brain approach with thoughts and decision making, and they make the point that egocentric actions are motivated by a sense of separation or fear. They're all based from an idea that you're separate, or they're based from an underlying fear that if you don't do something specifically for your own interests, it will result in a fear of something actually happening. So these egocentric actions are often guided by past experiences or things that you're anxious about happening in the future. And they say that fear here is a motivational mechanism. That fear in your life in general, in various forms, underpins many responses to life situations, triggering instinctual egocentric reactions. But they say that when you create and base your behaviors on fear-based operations, it generally disconnects you from the present moment, and it distances you from your truth, your higher truth being more action-orientated in general. You are less informed by vibrational feelings, by your vibrational sense, than on physical sense. But a way to overcome this is by just gently reminding yourself, as often as you can remember, of your greatness and your connection. The aim is to remind and accept the reality of who you really are, the greatness of who you are, your connection to all that is, and try and maintain daily awareness of it. And they really want to put across to you that humans are powerful participants with non-physical energy flowing through them at all times, that you are here transducing powerfully in a physical world. And if you are fully aware of that, you would be firing on all cylinders, having this incredibly connected, unitive awareness life, full of success and miracles. So integration and the channeling of your I am self into life is the goal to try and remember, to try and accept, to try and embed, trying to embody and acknowledge who you are as much you can as a practice, as a journey, bit by bit. The more you do, the more you will see the effects. The more you experience the feedback loop of this, the more confident you will feel in the knowing of the dual aspects of yourself. And the more you'll see it, the more you'll practice this embodiment and integration in life. And it will just keep improving. Last of all, managing your energy. The last step. Okay, so channeling energy and creating reality occur in a world full of various frequencies, people, places, and things. So you've got all the vibes bouncing around. We all know what it's like being an empath to walk into a room with a bad atmosphere, or to be talking to someone who's in a bad mood, and then suddenly you feel brought down to their level and you're feeling it too. So how do you manage your energy in a world full of other people and their vibrations and what they're bringing and channeling the world? They say when you're alone, it's often easier to bring yourself to a stable state. And when you are distracted, of course, but when you are alone, it's easier to be more coherent, in a flow state or channeling state. Deep focus. You might want to call this meditation or anything where you're in a flowing activity or non-physical experience. For example, temporarily withdrawing your attention from the outside world and from the physical senses. And when you are withdrawn from your physical senses, you are then engaged in the flow state or the channeling state, and you're pulling in energy into your physical world. Now this could be things like when you're dancing, painting, or meditating. It might be things where you are actually in the physical world doing something, but your senses have kind of switched off, and an energy flowing through you has taken over. You sort of become one with the activity that you're doing. For example, if you're dancing or painting. And obviously, in these states, you are in a different brain state. There's a different frequency coming through you. You are drawing through you your unique frequency. And you are in full alignment and full integration. That's when you're bringing the two in parallel and bringing a nice balance and integration into your physical world. However, they state that it's worth taking care when transitioning between different states of being, or higher vibrational states, back to the physical world. Like one where you have to do mental activity, or you have to go and move around and do lots of errands and things like that. It should be done mindfully, to allow time for your mind and your body to adjust. Now, we all know what it's like to be in a deep sleep and be woken up and have to take a phone call, for example. It can be quite difficult to adjust so quickly. And it's exactly what they're referring to here. Whether you are channeling, you're verbally channeling a guide, or something like that, or you are in some kind of flow state where you're bringing lots of calm, peaceful energy through. You might be in the end of a yoga class and you've just done relaxation or shavasana, and then you leave abruptly and you go out into a busy street with lots of cars. And it's very difficult to try and navigate how to cross a road or to deal with people rushing home. This can be quite jarring on the system, quite jarring on the nervous system, so changing from one ambience to another or anything abrupt can affect you like that. So just be mindful. They say about easing in and out of higher vibrations into lower ones. They also talk about how individuals, you and I, can adjust the degree of attachment or identification with the physical and non-physical realms, as per our needs and our spiritual journey. What do they mean by that? Well, they mean that, for example, I'll give you an example of me when I'm channeling Tarp. I have some awareness of the physical world while I'm doing it. I'm aware of the room. I'm aware of the timer of how long I should channel for. I'm aware of the questions being put to me by another person in the room. But I am more engaged with the non-physical world. So I would say maybe I'm 70% engaged with the non-physical world and 30% engaged with awareness on the physical surroundings and the physical counterpart of me being in the room. And this is what they mean. You can have more of you or less of you in the non-physical engagement, and more of you or less of you engage with the physical realm. So most of the people forget that there is the non-physical realm, and they're mostly engaged with the physical life, the physical world that they're in, and their day-to-day moving around. But they're encouraging you to infuse both to live more and more with the two in tandem. The inner world and the outer world on the left and right side of the brain, the small self and the I am self. You may be in a meditation class and you are feeling more engaged with the non-physical realm, but still keeping a part of you there. But you can control it. You are the master of your journey. And once you embed and begin to acknowledge the two parts of you streaming constantly, then you can move the boundary more over to one side or another, because there are times when you need to be more physical and more engaged with the mental, normal, working, everyday mind. And there are other times that serve you, for example, being creative, or writing, or doing something where you need to create and produce value for yourself or for the world, or you're healing somebody where you need to employ and become more in alignment, in flow, with the non-physical aspect coming through you. Remember, you're free, you're sovereign, and you're multidimensional. You can navigate these dimensions fluidly in time the more you accept who you are. And they make a point that humans, historically, have practiced shifting states of consciousness through spiritual practices and worship, e.g. shamanism or Aboriginal communities. It is a normal part of life to move between various states of being and do it fluidly and be able to bring back experiences from the non-physical side of things and anchor it down into the physical, normal waking state. And this is what they're encouraging you to remember is possible for you. So you have a more fluid, understanding of who you are in this physical world, which will bring more favorable aspects into your life. Again, though they stress that attention must be paid to the body's needs for rest, repair, hydration, and nourishment. If you are beginning to get more fluid in between all these different states of awareness and all these different states of consciousness, because abruptly shifting between different levels of frequencies can leave you feeling a bit discombobulated, can be a bit taxing on the body. And this is why they talk about managing energy and managing physical symptoms like fatigue or feeling spaced out. And there we are. So that was the end. That was 7 steps handpicked from the Book of Tarp, and that make up the roadmap for miracles. And so what do we say? What is the conclusion to that? Well, I think you can conclude that humans are naturally transdimensional beings and able to perceive transdimensional phenomena on a wider level. Even though the ego mind, or the small self is not able to pick up on it on a day-to-day basis. However, it does get received by the whole of your body and can be interpreted through dreams and through uncovering deep-seated fears and traumas and learning to lessen the differences around you and learning to raise your frequency of being. Being vibration-oriented too. But they say that we have always had these kinds of experiences on an extrasensory level and that our life is really about the integration of knowing who we are, the nested realities of self. We are God into self, nested realities of consciousness. And that transforming our consciousness, understanding this view of reality through integration, will broaden our understanding of who we are in our world today. Embracing trans-dimensional experiences through understanding that we are natural channels, we are natural conduits for broader and higher consciousness, is something that then, once we realize we can do, we can start to channel things directly and with intention to things specific in our life that take our excitement, that make us feel happy. Following the vibration, orienting ourselves via the vibration of how something feels and directly channeling the energy of the things that we can pull through us, governed by the way that they feel. This brings us to a path of miracles, and we should understand that this is our inherent freedom. We were born this way, and we have the choice to be this, and we can start to realize this and implement this as soon as possible. So, that concludes today's masterclass, The Roadmap for Miracles. I hope you liked it and can see how beginning to embrace these ideas and implementing into your life will lead you wholeheartedly to a life where you see miracles, healing, enlightenment, and a global awakening, ushering in for us a new era for mankind. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you many miracles on your path. Thank you and goodbye.